Welcome to the Trimetric Roadmap, powered by Business Freedom Advisors, the podcast for business owners who want to grow their business and enjoy their life. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Landis, creator of the Trimetric Tracking System and author of Balancing Act. If you're tired of chasing success at the expense of your health, your marriage, or your peace of mind, you're in the right place. On this show, we help you track what really matters: business health, life quality, and leadership performance, all in one simple, powerful system. Because when those get out of sync, everything else starts to break down. Our goal here is to help you align it all so you can lead with clarity, scale with purpose, and finally enjoy the freedom you've been working so hard to create. And if it feels like no one's ever shown you how to pull that off, this podcast might just be the missing link you've been quietly searching for. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Trimetric Roadmap podcast, brought to you once again by Business Freedom Advisors. I'm Scott Landis, and here I am with Jeff Jacob. And last episode, if you are tuning to the Trimetric Roadmap podcast, we talked about 3 types of founders. There's the bottleneck visionary, the trapped operator, and the one you want to be, the integrated leader. If you don't know what any of that means, go back and listen to last week's episode. But today, just to give you a little bit more about the integrated leader, the goal with that one is to be the founder who is still leading the business, but no longer required to carry the business. But once a founder recognizes my business still depends on me too much, the next question is obvious: what do I actually fix first? Because most founders don't have just one problem. They have financial issues, operational issues, growth issues, people issues, and probably a few fires burning before lunch, maybe. The answer is not to work harder or try to fix everything at once. The answer is actually to identify the specific area creating the greatest constraint and pull the right lever. And at Business Freedom Advisors, we call these the 5 freedom levers. And they are: keep it, know it, run it, grow it, fund it. Those are the 5 levers that we're going to start to unpack. So over the next several episodes, we're going to just go into each one of them. But today we want to give you the full map and help you begin to identify which lever may be holding your business and your freedom back. Jeff, I want to start with this. When a founder feels overwhelmed and knows the business needs to improve, maybe in several different areas, how do you determine which lever they can pull first?
Well, we definitely use a whole diagnostic process to determine everything for business owners, their company, any client we work with. And so we start with the business health diagnostic, the BHD that we talk about all the time. But then after the BHD, we go into a SWOT analysis that's mixed with, it's a hybrid version of a SWOT analysis with the 5 levers. And so the 5 levers being profit and tax strategy, financial intelligence and command is number 2, operational infrastructure and intelligent systems, growth engine and revenue strategy, and then capital access and banking strategy. And we kind of sum those up with keep it, know it, run it, grow it, and fund it. And so we do a SWOT analysis with those 5 different levers, and then determine what really are the key elements that are causing the pain points for the organization or that leader. And then from there, help determine, okay, which lever is it that we really need to work on the most now? But it is a relational process we go through to help figure out, maybe this is causing you more pain, but it's not going to make as big of a difference for the company. And so let's focus on this one. It's a process we go through together. And if they really want to hit something in particular at first, because that's where they feel their gut is leading them, then we go that way. But it's a process of really figuring out, are we hitting some of the opportunities? Are we hitting some of the weaknesses? What are we really going to focus on to make the biggest difference in the company right now. And it really is a process of the results we get from the business health diagnostic mixed in with a real feeling of what are the with what does the SWOT analysis show us. So we mix those together to find what lever is going to make the biggest difference right now.
Yep. And how's my sound, by the way? I had to adjust my sound while you were talking there. Is that better?
It's better.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, and then being a little distracted, adjusting my sound at the risk of maybe repeating some of the stuff you said, like, one thing that comes to mind for me to really emphasize is how we are so diagnostic forward. Everything starts with a diagnostic, and we have talked about in the past the trimetric flywheel, which starts with truth. What is the truth? What is the
Yes.
real stuff going on? What are the elephants in the room? Where does it hurt? I always like to use the doctor physician metaphor that you go in, you get all the testing done. So our diagnostic is so powerful. We talk about it all the time. Literally, it's in the intro and outro, by the way, if you haven't already done our diagnostic. The quick one, the free one is getfreedomscore.com, getfreedomscore.com. And that's the quick one that's going to give you the first glance of where to look. Again, the doctor analogy, like at first you're going to get, some basic physical done. You're going to get some blood work done. That's your first level diagnostic, getfreedomscore.com. But we do all of these diagnostics and they're so powerful. But once we go through that process, and Jeff, your role in it is so critical, the financial controls, the business intelligence piece of it from a numbers perspective is so critical. And for the average, visionary um, or integrator or CEO or leader of a company, especially the visionaries, they're like, okay, that's great. Like, great CFO talk, but I'm getting bored listening to all this CFO stuff. Like, just tell me what to do about it. And that's where the five freedom levers really can be helpful to someone like me that needs it to be dumbed down a little bit. And it's just like, okay, I took physics in high school and I understand leverage. Like, okay, the bigger the lever arm and wherever you put the fulcrum, you can actually move a gigantic boulder if you have a big enough lever. You can move anything if you have a big enough lever. That's physics. So if there's the concept of, oh, okay, all this diagnostic stuff you showed me, like here's the business valuation where it is today, and here's where it could be, what do I do about it? Oh, it's easy, Scott. You just pull this lever here. It's like, oh, I can do that. Like, thanks for making it so I can understand it. So whether it's, profit and tax strategy or financial intelligence and command or whatever the lever is, those are good to mention because a lot of times it is that dealing with cash flow issues or whatever. And you say, Jeff comes along and says, hey, I know we just went over a lot with the diagnostic. Here, we want you to focus on this lever. Just pull this growth engine and revenue strategy lever, and things are going to start to move. And I also like simplifying things to the one thing. What's the one thing? Such by doing it, everything else will fall into place. Hey, that's this lever right here. Start working on this lever, Mr. Founder, Mrs. Founder, and you will start to move all of the needles in this business health diagnostic.
Right. Absolutely. And, we had a client recently that, because it's not just about being able to read financial statements. Everybody knows that every accountant knows that most people don't know what a cash flow statement is or how to really read a balance sheet or, profit loss statements just look like a list, most of them, not the ones we do, but most of them just look like a list of different categories alphabetized and there's numbers next to them. And, it doesn't do a whole lot for you to know how to run the company. And it was
Good
like that
point.
for this client that we were
Mm-hmm.
talking to just last week. And he was saying, there was a huge turnaround for him because he was saying that he on his balance sheet he saw over $500,000 of um, accounts receivable. And so, great. He has $500,000 owed to him that people haven't paid. Uh, that's all he knew because he knew how to read a balance sheet, but that's all it showed him. But what we did to be able to have that actual command, to be able to have the knowledge of the truth and in a way that's actually helpful, is to create a dashboard for him where he can see the accounts payable aging summary. He can see the clients that aren't paying him. He can see how past due they really are. And so he went in and he asked for a list, but he saw it on the dashboard. And he just started calling and emailing all of the people that owed him money sometimes from 3 years ago. And and he brought in about $100,000 in the last week just from being able to have control or knowledge what of what that line item means on the balance sheet, being able to actually understand it and have the data presented to him in a way that he could grasp what it actually means. And then he could go out and do something about it. And we created that plan together of, okay, well, here's how we're going to start invoicing. We're going to start implementing these systems. We're going to start contacting people. And the ones that aren't going to respond, we're going to do this with to get to collections. And some of them we're going to write off as, unpayable, unreceivable bills. So there's a lot of things we could do, but it brought him in a great amount of money that was very helpful for the company, and that was in a week. It all came through what you're talking about. Here's the lever, let's pull it.
Mm-hmm.
But first, you have to start with the knowledge of the truth.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so if you're just kind of waking up or just tuning in, we are talking about the 5 freedom levers. So just another high level overview. This episode we're covering all 5. We're covering the concept. Over the next several episodes, we're going to dig into each one so that if you find yourself with this particular lever, you hear these 5 levers and you're like, oh, I think I'm actually needing to work on capital access and banking strategy. Like, that's my lever. Now what do I do? So each episode will kind of unpack for you what it really means to pull that lever and how to break that down. But to go over all 5, so we have a long hand and a short hand, starting with the long hand. So 1 is profit and tax strategy. A lot of times, that's number 1, because a lot of times that's what people are looking for. It's missing revenue. It seems like I'm making a lot of revenue, but I don't think I'm keeping a lot of it. Missing revenue and tax strategy. That is there's so many opportunities in profit and tax strategy. So that's why we have that at number 1. Then it's number 2, financial intelligence and command. A lot of people, like you said, Jeff, they have some pretty good books. Maybe, I should say most people have really horrible books, but at least they have their QuickBooks like syncing up with their bank, and they kind of understand, oh, I've got a bank account and I've got a P&L. They've got some level of what we call financial intelligence. But if it's not really intelligent for you, if it's not really helping you to make decisions, and it's out of control and it's chaotic, financial intelligence and command is your lever. Number 3 is operational infrastructure and intelligence systems. And this is a lot of times what business owners really need, or what businesses really need, but it's not so much as on fire as the first couple of levers. But when it comes to operational infrastructure and intelligence systems, that could be a leadership system, a leadership process. It could be, just anything that's going to let the business scale that that removes the founder bottleneck, is a way we like to say it. By the way, we are running a founder roundtable during the season. Next one's Wednesday. We're going to do it every couple of weeks. So stay tuned if you are interested in joining a group where we actually lead discussions and help you figure this stuff out. I would say if you're just a podcast listener and you're not a client yet, or even don't want to go to getfreedomscore.com and take 5 minutes and get your freedom score, you want to just take another baby step from being a podcast listener, go to get what do we have it at? Get BFA Pro. Let me just double check. Getbfa.com. That'll take you to the registration for our founder roundtable. And right now we're not charging anything. I can't say that's going to be forever, but right now, no cost. Getbfa.com and register for the next upcoming founder roundtable. And we talk about this stuff. In operational infrastructure and intelligent systems is one of the main things. If you think you might be the bottleneck where everything's flowing around you and you're kind of trapped because everything has to go through you, that's what we're going to solve at the founder roundtable. So check that out at getbfa.com. Number 4, growth engine and revenue strategy. That kind of speaks for itself. And then number 5, capital access and banking strategy. A lot of businesses that are doing pretty well on the other ones, that one is one that they either say, oh, I'm a cash operating business. I don't need banking strategy. I don't need capital access. Well, maybe take a second look at that. If you really want, okay, let me put it this way. If you're happy with your cash flowing business and you don't think you need capital access and banking strategy, my question would be, what's your exit strategy? Do you ever want to exit that business? Do you ever want to pass it on to someone, a successor? Do you ever want to sell that business? If you do, and you have the 5th lever and you've got that under control, capital access and banking strategy can significantly improve the enterprise value of your business. So that's the long hand of the 5 levers, Jeff. Before I go into the shorthand, did you want to speak to any of that stuff?
I always go into more detail or less detail than you want. But the one thing I would say about the financial intelligence is what you said is most people have, at least QuickBooks or whatever program they use in there connected to their bank account, and they've got somebody going in, entering transactions. Most people have that. And it's better if it gets reconciled every month and all of that. What and most accountants that you have or bookkeepers that you have are going to be every month making sure the transactions are in, that everything's reconciled, and then give you the reports and go over the reports usually by the middle of the next month. And therefore, you're always looking in the past. That's not actual financial intelligence. That's not an actual visibility of what's happening. It's what has happened, not what's happening in your company. When I was talking about that client we have that he had $100,000 come in this last week, I know that because our bookkeeping side, they're in his books every day and giving him a dashboard that is updated daily. And so that's more of what I'm talking about with actual visibility, financial intelligence, being able to look and see where does it stand, where does my company stand, what's actually happening in it. And I hope he looks at it every week. He doesn't need to look at it every day, but I want him to any day be able to go in and see exactly what's happening, not what has happened. And we even have business valuations built into it. So, hey, if I want to sell my company today, here we go, and a lot of them keep track of that number most, which is pretty funny. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. The ultimate KPI. How much is this thing worth? Yeah, that's good. All right. Jeff, do you want to go through the shorthand version of the 5 levers?
Sure. What do you mean?
I'm talking about the know it, run it, grow it. It's just a shorthand version of everything I was going through, but kind of an easier to remember way.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep it. It's, profit, tax strategy, and protecting what the business earns. Tax strategy is one that is also really misidentified, misdefined, because tax strategy isn't what almost any CPAs do. They're trained to have you be compliant with the IRS. and or with your union or whatever entities you have to be compliant with. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a proactive strategy that limits the amount of tax you actually end up having to pay, and then being compliant with it. That's what we're talking about with tax strategy. So keep it profit tax strategy and protecting what the business earns. Know it is financial visibility and command. We've talked about that a little bit. Run it is operational infrastructure and execution. I mean, I could go deep into that one, but most businesses are where they are because of the limitations of the systems and the operational infrastructure and execution that they have. And so implementing systems that enhance the company, I won't go too deep into that right now, but is what a lot of what we're talking about there. And then growing it, revenue strategy and the growth engine. It's dangerous to really grow it before you have the operational infrastructure to handle that growth, which is why
Good
it's
point.
fourth. And then fund it, capital access and using money strategically. This is a really fun one for me. Using money strategically. How do you leverage assets and turn money into more money? But it's also bringing in. It can be loans and getting the organization fundable through whatever access you want to go forward with and is appropriate for your company. It varies between industry and company, but yeah, that's the five of them, and it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So keep it, know it, run it, grow it, fund it. And there's two things. We're getting short on time, but I want to go over that decision matrix one more time before we wrap up. But you just said something that I want you to unpack a little bit more. You said something that it can be dangerous to grow it, to focus on that at the wrong time. So what did you mean by that?
Yeah, well, what I mean is also what you and I went through when we were starting this off, and it was early on, and um, we I wheeled out a whiteboard into the pool, and Scott and I sat there and, and went through a strategy, and we realized that here's the number of clients we can handle, and if when we're at 10x what we are now at that point, then what are we going to need to have this structure look right and be able to actually serve customers well? And so we laid that out and then planned out, okay, well, then what do we have to hire? What do we have to implement? What systems do we need at what point? And one of the things I loved about joining in with Scott here was that you build for scale in the beginning. And so you don't need to completely redo the organization. And that's how I like to think as well. And so building the systems for scalability. But we looked at, okay, strategically, what are we going to have to hire at what point? What systems are we going to need at what stage? And then how many more of those are we going to need along the way? What's the profitability of that? And then we did the financial accounting for it. And is this actually going to work? And does it hold up over time and over scale? And if you don't do that, then if we weren't to have done that, then we would grow and not be able to serve the clients well and not be able to produce for them, and without the support structure that we needed to handle more clients. Therefore, things would start to go poorly and go down while we wouldn't have the time to actually work on the company because we're too busy working in the company, and therefore the growth limitation stops. And so does that make sense for what I'm planning
Mm-hmm.
on or what I'm talking about? It's a lot of
Yep.
planning and then implementing the right systems and strategies along the way.
Yep. Another way I like to think about it, and I put a post on LinkedIn with this picture of a bucket where water's going in the bucket, but the bucket's leaky and it's got holes, and
Mhm.
there's the more revenue you throw into the top of that bucket and a leaky bucket, that's not necessarily going to help you. It's just going to, keep leaking. So we like to do the keep it lever first a lot of times before you start growing it. And that just
Mhm.
sort of makes sense. I also have a client example recently where the client focused on sales, for a month and now has a problem of not being able to, like, all these new clients were onboarded, but the growth strategy wasn't there to support it. And now they're like drowning in like, how do we serve all these clients? We've got the opposite problem now. So if you do it strategically and intelligently, like these levers can't operate independently. While we do make it simple, we say, here's the lever we want you to focus on, you also have to keep in mind that all five levers work synergistically. So the back to that decision matrix, part of our onboarding process and something we can share with you right now is like, okay, how do I get to the place where I understand which lever to focus on? And most business owners are familiar with the SWOT analysis, where you take strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and you just kind of look at that, and you assess what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. So what we do is we just matrix that across the five levers. So for strengths, what is our strengths, and keep it, know it, run it, grow it, fund it. For weaknesses, what is our weaknesses, and keep it? What are our weaknesses, and know it? What are our weaknesses, and run it, and so on and so on? What's the opportunity in keep it versus opportunity and grow it? So once you do that, what is that? That is 20 different boxes. You have answered the question uh, in a matrix form. And, using AI these days, I mean, you can process all that through AI, and it'll help you, like, you know, take that data and determine what should I focus on. But usually if you've gone through that process, some themes start to come through, even brief before AI. Some themes start to come through, and the cream rises to the top, and you're like, by the time you go through that process, by the way, you've probably experienced this with a SWOT analysis if you've done that. That works pretty well as well. We just think if you filter it through or you cross-reference it with the five levers, you're going to get an even more powerful result, and really, again, boil it down to which lever do I need to focus on this quarter or this year.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely. And we get a lot of those boxes filled through the business health diagnostic. So the
yes.
BHD fills out a lot of those boxes, and then it's a matter of going through it together with with the business owner
Mm-hmm.
and giving it more definition and grading them and
Mm-hmm.
ranking them, weighting them, and therefore we can find out which levers are going to make the biggest difference for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I was going to go into something else, but the life cycle of every organization is a bell curve. All right,
Mm-hmm.
it builds and then it peaks and then dies out eventually, and so there's a bell curve of the life cycle of an organization, and to be able to continue growing, you need disruptive innovation,
Yeah.
and that can look like a lot of different things. It can be a new product. There was the iPod, and then there's the iPhone, and then there's the iPhone 16. Whatever. It can be a new
Mm-hmm.
product, or it can be a system as well. And so the systems, it could be people. There's a lot of things it can be, but you need some sort of disruptive innovation, and it's not disruptive to the organization. It's disruptive to that bell curve, and so of the life cycle. And so if you disrupt that, so it's a bell curve going up and over, and then if you disrupt it, it starts a new bell curve. And so you need to continually having disruptive innovation and a lot of times that can be systems. And so we look at the SWOT analysis, the decision matrix, to really help decide through that SWOT analysis what are the levers that are going to create the positive disruptive innovation that will help this company to get to the next stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you want the template for the decision matrix where puts the SWOT analysis with the five levers, if you want to see that template, I can send you it. Something that you can fill out yourself. Just send me an email at scott@bfapro.com. I'd be happy to send that to you. All right. Better yet, go to getbfa.com and join our Founder Freedom and Founder Roundtable, and we'll talk about it there, and I'll get it to you there in person. All right. Well, wrapping up. So the big takeaway from today is that most founders don't need to fix everything at once. Even though they might have a diagnostic that shows all of these aches and pains, they need to identify the lever that is creating the greatest constraint right now, or the one that needs to reduce the greatest constraint. So maybe you're making money, but you're not keeping enough of it. Maybe the business is profitable, but you don't have the financial visibility to make confident decisions. Or maybe growth is happening, but the operation can't support it, like the one client I mentioned. Maybe the systems are strong, but the revenue engine is inconsistent. Or maybe the opportunity is there, but you don't have the capital structure to move forward. That's what each of the 5 levers is all about. So keep it, know it, run it, grow it, fund it. These 5 areas give founders a practical way to stop reacting to every problem and start focusing on the improvements that can create the greatest return. And the goal isn't simply a healthier business. The goal is a business that produces more profit, creates more value, and depends on you less. That's what business freedom is all about. So over the next several episodes, we're going to break down each of these levers, starting with keep it, and how you can protect more of what your business earns and make sure your hard work is actually building you wealth. Like, how would that be? Not just cash flow, but balance sheet increase, wealth building. Let's talk about that. But until then, take a step back and just ask yourself, which of these 5 freedom levers is currently limiting my business the most? But till then, Jeff, thanks for joining me again. And to everyone else, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Trimetric Roadmap powered by Business Freedom Advisors. I've been your host, Scott Landis. If you're growing a business but something still feels off, you're not alone. That's exactly why we created the Trimetric Quiz. It's not a personality test, it's a powerful diagnostic tool that shows you where you're in alignment and where things may be silently slipping off track across your business, life, and leadership. It only takes a few minutes, and the clarity you'll gain is a game changer. Go to trimetricquiz.com to take the quiz now before the cost of staying stuck gets any higher. Until next time, stay focused, stay aligned, and keep building a business that truly supports your life.